Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into a really fascinating area of AI today. It's called Verifier Engineering,
Hmm.
and it's basically about how we can train AI in a more sophisticated way,
Yeah.
kind of move beyond just like throwing tons of data at it.
Right.
So we've got this awesome paper that we're going to be looking at today. It's called Search, Verify, and Feedback Towards Next Generation Post-Training Paradigm of Foundation Models via Verifier Engineering.
Good.
And it's really all about how this verifier engineering approach could be a game changer for all sorts of AI applications, from, AI safety to problem solving.
It's really interesting to think about how AI development has kind of progressed over time.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
we started with like this very meticulous feature engineering where we were like handcrafting all the features.
right.
And then we shifted to this data-centric approach where it's all about curating these massive data sets.
Yeah.
And now verifier engineering, it's like the next evolution. It's almost like we're giving AI a personal trainer to help it reach its full potential.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm hooked already, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think we need to break down what verifier engineering actually is, because,
Sure.
it sounds kind of complex.
Yeah, it might sound a little intimidating at first,
Yeah.
but the core idea is actually quite elegant.
Okay.
So imagine you have an AI and let's say it's trying to write a poem.
Mm-hmm.
In the search phase, it would be exploring different styles and rhymes and themes, and it would generate multiple drafts.
Okay.
Then in the verify phase, another AI steps in and acts like a poetry critic,
Interesting.
and it evaluates each draft based on specific criteria. Like, is it grammatically correct? Does it
Mhm.
evoke the desired emotions?
Uh,
Is it original?
So it's like the first AI is brainstorming, and then the second AI is providing quality control.
Exactly.
Gotcha. But then what happens with that feedback? I mean, does the first AI just kind of shrug it off and keep writing terrible poetry?
Well, not quite. That's where the feedback stage comes in.
Okay.
So the verifier AI, our poetry critic in this case,
Yeah.
it doesn't just give a thumbs up or down. It provides specific targeted feedback to the first AI,
Gotcha.
explaining why certain drafts worked better than others.
Mm.
And this helps the first AI understand its strengths and weaknesses, refine its approach, and ultimately generate better poetry.
So it's not just about telling the AI, hey, you messed up.
Right.
It's about giving it the tools and insights to actually improve.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And this feedback loop can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how humans learn. We don't just absorb information passively.
Right.
We try things. We get feedback from others, and we adjust our approach. And verifier engineering aims to replicate this process for AI, enabling it to learn and adapt much more effectively.
So it's almost like we're finally teaching AI to learn from its mistakes instead of just repeating them over and over again?
That's a great way to put it.
Now, you mentioned earlier that this approach can be applied to all sorts of different AI applications. What are some of the areas where you think verifier engineering could really make the biggest difference?
Well, one area that immediately comes to mind is AI safety.
Okay.
Imagine training a self-driving car.
Huh?
You wouldn't just let it loose on the road without any guidance.
Of course not.
You'd have a driving instructor in the passenger seat, providing feedback, correcting mistakes.
Right.
Verifier engineering can play a similar role for AI systems, ensuring that they operate safely and ethically.
So it's kind of like a safety net for AI, making sure that it doesn't go rogue.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm guessing the applications go way beyond just preventing AI from running red lights.
Absolutely. The paper dives into some really fascinating examples of how verifier engineering could be used to enhance AI's problem-solving capabilities.
Like what?
Well, for example, imagine an AI trying to write code.
Mm-hmm.
We could use a verifier that acts as a code interpreter, checking the code for errors and providing feedback on its efficiency.
So instead of just generating lines of code, the AI is actually learning to think like a programmer, understanding what makes code good or bad.
Exactly.
Wow, that could be a game changer for software development.
Yeah.
What about other fields? Could verifier engineering help AI tackle problems in, say, scientific research?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This approach isn't limited to any specific domain. We could use verifier engineering to train AI systems to analyze complex data design experiments, even generate hypotheses.
Wow.
It's about giving AI the tools to become a true collaborator in scientific discovery.
It's like we're not just automating tasks anymore. We're actually empowering AI to contribute to the advancement of knowledge.
Right.
That's mind-blowing. But the paper also mentions something called chain of thought prompting.
Yeah.
How does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, so chain of thought prompting, it's this technique that kind of encourages AI to think step by step.
Okay.
Like, like a detective solving a case. Instead of just giving like a final answer, the AI reveals its reasoning process.
Oh, interesting. So instead of just saying the murderer is the butler,
Right.
it would actually like lay out all the clues and the deductions.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how does that work in practice? Like, can you give me an example?
Sure. So let's say you ask an AI a question like, if John is taller than Mary and Mary is taller than Sarah, who is the shortest?
Okay.
Now, with chain of thought prompting, the AI wouldn't just say Sarah.
Right.
It would break down the problem step by step.
Okay.
So it might say something like, John is taller than Mary, so Mary is shorter than John. Mary is taller than Sarah, so Sarah is shorter than Mary.
Yeah.
Therefore, Sarah is the shortest.
Wow. So it's like we can actually see the AI's thought process.
Exactly.
That makes the answer a lot more understandable. And I feel like even more importantly, trustworthy.
Right.
It's not just like a black box anymore, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that transparency is really crucial, especially as these AI systems become more and more complex and integrated into our lives. We need to be able to understand how they're making decisions.
Yeah, for sure. Not just blindly accept the outputs.
Exactly.
Now, this all sounds incredibly promising, but are there any downsides or potential risks to this approach? Like, I mean, teaching AI to think more like humans.
Yeah.
Couldn't that lead to AI also inheriting some of our, less desirable traits, like biases?
That's a really valid concern. And one of the key challenges in verifier engineering is ensuring that the feedback that we provide to these AI systems is fair and unbiased.
Right.
We need to be very careful about the data we use to train these verifiers and the criteria that we set for evaluation.
Yeah.
Because if we're not careful, we could inadvertently create AI systems that perpetuate existing societal biases.
So it's not just about making AI smarter.
Right.
It's about making sure it's smart in the right ways.
Exactly.
That's a huge responsibility. Speaking of potential pitfalls, the paper also mentions something called overfitting. Can you explain what that is and why it's a concern in verifier engineering?
Sure. So imagine you're training a student for a math test, and you give them the same 10 practice problems over and over again.
Okay.
They might ace that specific test, but they won't actually understand the underlying mathematical concepts.
Right.
That's overfitting.
Okay.
The student has basically memorized the answers without truly learning how to solve the problems.
So they're kind of gaming the system instead of actually learning.
Exactly.
Gotcha. But how does that apply to AI?
It's the same idea. If an AI is trained on a very specific data set and evaluated based on a very narrow set of criteria, it might become very good at that particular task, but struggle to generalize its knowledge to new situations.
So it's kind of like an AI that can write amazing sonnets,
Right.
but can't write a haiku to save its life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So how can verifier engineering help prevent AI from becoming overfitted or, these one-trick ponies, so to speak?
Well, one approach is to use a diverse range of verifiers,
Okay.
each evaluating the AI's performance from a different perspective. So it's kind of like having multiple teachers with different teaching styles and areas of expertise.
Yeah.
This helps to ensure that the AI develops a more well-rounded understanding, and it's not just optimized for a single narrow task.
So instead of just training an AI to write sonnets,
Right.
we would also challenge it with haiku limericks, free verse, you name it.
Exactly.
That way it actually learns the fundamental principles of poetry and can adapt to different forms and styles.
Right.
But with all these different verifiers providing feedback, how do we make sure that the feedback process is actually effective? I mean, it's one thing to give feedback.
Yeah.
It's another thing to make sure the AI actually learns from it.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the key open questions in verifier engineering. How do we design feedback mechanisms that are both informative and actionable? How do we strike that right balance between providing enough guidance without stifling the AI's creativity and ability to explore new solutions?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
These are all areas where ongoing research is really crucial.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with verifier
I
engineering.
think so.
That's like we're opening up this whole new world of possibilities for AI development.
It's really exciting.
But I have to ask, with all this talk about, AI becoming more capable, more adaptable, even more like us in a way, does that ever worry you? Like, are we creating something that could eventually surpass our own intelligence and become a threat?
That's definitely a question worth pondering. The development of powerful technology always comes with a certain degree of responsibility.
Right.
And we need to make sure that we're creating AI systems that are aligned with human values and that ultimately benefit humanity as a whole.
Well said, and that's exactly why these conversations are so important.
Yeah,
We need to be thinking critically about the implications of this technology while also embracing its potential to improve our lives in countless ways.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the limitations of traditional data-driven approaches to AI,
Right.
the exciting potential of verifier engineering,
Yeah,
and some of the challenges and ethical considerations we need to address as we move forward.
for sure.
But before we get too locked in the future, let's bring it back to the present, to you, our listener.
Yeah.
Given what you've learned about verifier engineering, what applications excite you the most?
Mm.
What problems do you think this new approach could help us solve?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
We encourage you to share your ideas and questions with us on social media. This
Yeah.
is a conversation that we all need to be a part of, shaping the future of AI together.
Exactly.
And of course, join us next time for another deep dive into a cutting-edge topic in AI.
We've got some really fascinating episodes coming up.
So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned.
Yeah.
Until then, happy learning, everyone.
It's pretty amazing to think about how verifier engineering could really change, the landscape of AI applications.
Yeah.
Like imagine a world where AI isn't just a tool, but like a true partner, helping us solve these really complex problems in medicine engineering. You name it.
Yeah, it's like giving researchers and innovators a superpower,
Right?
amplifying their ability to tackle these grand challenges facing humanity. I
Exactly.
mean, we could see breakthroughs in areas we never even thought possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the paper touches on this concept of generalization,
Right.
which is, a key aspect of creating AI systems that are both capable and trustworthy.
Right. We talked about overfitting earlier, how AI can kind of get stuck in a rut.
Right.
And generalization seems like the antidote to that,
Yeah.
helping AI break free from those limitations.
Exactly.
But how do we actually encourage AI to generalize its learning? Like, how do we get it to apply its knowledge to new and unfamiliar situations?
Well, it's kind of like teaching a child to ride a bike.
Okay.
You don't just give them one specific bike and say, okay, practice in this one spot over and over again.
Right.
You expose them to different terrains, different types of bikes, different weather conditions. The same principle applies to AI.
So it's about diversity of experience,
Exactly.
Exposing the AI to a wide range of challenges and scenarios,
Yeah.
forcing it to adapt and think on its feet.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
And verifier engineering can play a crucial role in this process.
Okay.
By using these diverse sets of verifiers, each with its own unique perspective and evaluation criteria.
Yeah.
We can encourage the AI to develop this more robust and adaptable understanding of the world.
So it's not just about the quantity of data that we fill via the AI. It's
Yeah.
about the quality and the diversity of that data. And even more importantly, how we evaluate the AI's performance based on that data.
Absolutely. It's like training an athlete.
Okay.
You wouldn't just have them lift the same weights every day.
Right.
You'd have them cross-train work on their flexibility, their agility, their mental focus. Verifier engineering is about providing that kind of holistic training program for AI.
It's really exciting to think about where this technology could take us, but I also can't help but wonder, what are the biggest unanswered questions in verifier engineering? Like, what are the frontiers that researchers are still grappling with?
Well, I think one of the most pressing questions is how to best design these verifiers themselves.
Okay.
How do we ensure that they're providing accurate, unbiased feedback? How do we strike that right balance between guidance and autonomy?
Right.
Allowing the AI to explore and innovate while still, keeping it on track.
Yeah.
Those are all areas where we need more research and experimentation.
And what about the computational resources required for all of this? I mean, training AI is already incredibly demanding. But now we're talking about adding this whole layer of verifier engineering on top of that.
Right.
Is that even feasible with current technology?
That's a valid concern. Verifier engineering definitely introduces additional computational complexity.
Yeah.
But, as technology continues to advance, we're seeing these improvements in both hardware and algorithms that are making this approach more and more feasible.
So it's a challenge, but not an insurmountable one.
Right.
It's just a matter of time and innovation.
Exactly.
Well, it seems like we've reached the end of our deep dive into verifier engineering.
Yeah.
But before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
We've explored the mechanics of verifier engineering, its potential benefits, and the challenges that lie ahead.
Right.
But ultimately, I think the most important question is what kind of future do we want to create with this technology?
That's a great question, and it's one that deserves careful consideration. Yeah. Not just from researchers and engineers, but from everyone.
Absolutely.
The future of AI is, in many ways, the future of humanity itself.
So as you go about your day, think about the role that you want AI to play in your life,
Hmm.
in your community, in the world.
Right.
What problems do you want to see solved? What opportunities do you want to see unlocked?
Yeah. Let those questions guide your thinking, your actions,
Hmm?
and your conversations about AI.
Because the future isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something we create together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope it sparked your curiosity and given you a new perspective on the possibilities of AI.
And we'd love to continue the conversation, so feel free to share your thoughts and questions with us on social media.
And be sure to subscribe to the deep dive for more explorations into the cutting edge of technology and ideas.
Until next time.
Happy learning!